Hi, my name is Joan Naffziger and I am doing a tutorial on the glass and bead trees that I made. I started doing beads on eggs probably about 30 years ago. They weren't very sophisticated and they've gotten better. And then 9 years ago I started doing glass mosaics. And a couple years ago I saw some trees either on a glass site or maybe it was on this site. And I thought I'd like to try that. So last year I found some trees and got started. I use paper mache cones for the base and I get them at Hobby Lobby. They're only available during the holidays. I found these in early November this year, so I stock up and they're 4 inches tall and 2 inches in diameter. I do paint them. I use 2 or 3 coats. And I use the different craft paints that I've used over the years for other projects and found that it takes at least 2 coats to hide any streaks. I've tried green, but I really like the gold and silver and the way the glass and beads pop. I use size 3 and size 5 bugle beads. I really like the twisted ones because they sparkle a lot better. And I found that I usually start with glass on the bottom and then either use beads or glass from there on. And this is when I started, and I'm standing up the size 5 beads, and then you can see I kind of stagger the ones that lay horizontally. Those are 3s. And I pretty much just use a toothpick to spread the glue on. I put a bunch onto some sort of flat surface, and I like it to get a little tacky because anybody that's worked on curved surfaces knows that they'll slide around, and so if it gets a little tacky, then they'll stay in this position I want them. For the trunks, I used to save the containers from my contact cleaner. I use Clear Care and save those for beads. And when I was starting to do these trees a couple years ago, I decided I needed a trunk and they'd be a perfect trunk. And so I run the glue all the way around the edge of it and get a pretty, this one's kind of dried now, but use a pretty thick line. And then when it's ready for a trunk, when a tree's ready for a trunk, after I put the glue on, then I push it up in there, and you can wedge it in there pretty good. And then I stand it up and I rotate it slowly to make sure it's standing straight. And you can adjust it once you've done that. And that way it stays in position. And then once you've got it where you like it, then you just wait and it dries. For my glue, I use Aleene's Tacky Glue. I'm a big fan, have used it for years, and it works really well. And as I mentioned, I use bugle beads in a 3 and a 5, and I really like the twisted ones, but they are a little hard to find at times. And then for the glass strips, I cut them about 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch. You can go up to 1/4, but no wider than that. I do like using the combination of glass and beads because it lets me cheat a little bit. When you're doing the beads and the glass, because it's a cone, you need to fiddle with the base a little bit because it's going to be wider at the base. You can see that one there is not spaced really well, but it's kind of tricky and just takes practice. And when you divide it, that works really well when you've divided it with glass because then it's a little more forgiving. But it just takes practice to get these little guys to stand up the way you want them to. For any of you glass people, I use a BeadleBits Strip Pro to cut my strips of glass, and it's a very handy tool if you're familiar with it, cutting nice straight pieces. And then once I'm done, I break it off the main piece with running pliers. And then to get them to the size I want, I use these nippers. I've actually used them on beads too. And I cut the pieces anywhere from 1/4 to maybe 1/2 inch. And that seems to be about the best size. And if it's 1/2 inch, you have to stand it up. So that's really all there is to it. I've had a lot of fun, as I said, and really finally found something I really enjoy making. I enjoy doing the glass and beads. One last tip is when you get to the top, I usually use the 5s and the 3s in combination to kind of fill in and get that peak just right. The points at the top are a little tricky. And hope this helps, and thank you all for watching.